Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please, Mr. Summer.
Mr. Gilmore.
Here.
Mr. Self.
Here.
Mrs. Gingrich.
Here.
Mrs. Voorhees.
Here.
Mr. Huber.
Here.
Do I have a motion to set the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Sell. Seconded by Mr. Huber. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Self.
Yes.
Mr. Huber.
Yes.
Mrs. Voorhees.
Yes.
Mrs. Gingrich.
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore.
Aye. Okay, reception of the public. We have the Salina Elementary School.
We are from Salina Elementary School, and we're going to present about Connection Club today. My name is Renee Simcoe, and I'm the school counselor.
I'm Erin Weigel, and I'm the intervention specialist.
I'm Jamie Guttemuller. I'm the art teacher.
I'm Laura Becker, I'm the speech language pathologist.
I'm Kylie Will, and I'm a title reading teacher.
We also have, as part of our team, Kelsey Gudor. She couldn't be here tonight, and then Tracy Gameyer as well.
So Connection Club started 3 years ago with the students who are now currently in 5th grade. It's an initiative we started just to have a peer collaboration program to get our students to help them develop real and authentic friendships. So the kiddos who maybe have more identified social needs are paired with a kiddo who's a typically developing peer that we've identified as being really a leader, and not necessarily maybe the top of the class and the kids that get picked for everything, but those kids who have great empathy and are caring and kind. And so we meet a couple times a month with them, and we do different activities every month, and they just really work on fostering friendships and relationships.
And I think we had an agenda up there that explains some of the different things we've done through the year. We can probably talk a lot about what we've seen and things that we've noticed with the kids and how the program has been helpful, but we have a video that I think will share that. Hopefully you can hear it.
It's pretty with their kids and help be leaders.
Connection Club is joining other friends.
It's like where you get to help people that can't work as well and that don't catch on to things quickly.
Connection Club is a place where you do things with your peer and you can help them with the things they need to be helped with.
To help me not be mean and disrespectful to others.
Help me that I can open myself up to my peer.
Connection helps taught me to play with other kids and just like your first friends, play with more kids, and it's fun. To teaches you to be nice to others. Because people can make other friends even though they can't make best friends. And if they even have no best friends, they can try to make one. Because sometimes kids don't know how to be nice to other kids. I've learned ways I can be a better leader to them. To not hit people or to do like bad stuff to other people, say bad words.
Good. It's good?
Yeah.
All right.
During Easter time. I enjoy helping others, and I feel like it's a big responsibility to get to help others like that. Helping others.
We eat lunch with friends. I enjoy that I can have time with my peer to do things.
I enjoyed helping my partner and cooperating with them. When we made gingerbread house. All of it. What is your favorite TV show? Mine is iCarly.
Alex, what's your favorite TV show?
Mine is Kansas. What is your favorite mine is Lee Spaghetti.
Alex, what's your favorite dinner meal? You've got to answer too, babe.
My favorite meal is taco. I got two things. If it's nice out, I'll just play. If it's nice out, I'll just play outside. And if it's like raining and it's very chilly out, like snowing, I will play video games. Even if it's nice out, even if they tell me no, just play video games. Well, if they say yes, if my parents say yes.
So we did an Easter egg hunt on Monday. They had to find questions that they asked.
Yeah, but penguin isn't so what time do you go to bed? What time do you go to bed? 9 o'clock.
Listen, Tyler. Which method do you follow the most? You answer. You go first. What is it? Think when you win. What method do you follow the most? Listening. What one do you follow most? Shake it. Tyler, I think the habit you follow the most is put first things first, don't ya? Work first, then play. First things first. Yeah.
What is your favorite color? Purple. Blue. Rose.
Okay, so this is our current members, our fifth graders on the left, our fourth graders on the right. We have about 80 some members this year, which is about a fourth of our student population. So we're pretty proud of that number that we can include that many students. And they're in the yearbook for the first time. We're going to be in the yearbook, so we're pretty pumped about that. This is our third year doing the program. We started 3 years ago. We started with just third grade. We introduced it small. We got our third grade members set up. The next year, as we had new third graders come in, we started with them, and then we had our fourth graders were already established. And now we're extending, it's moving into the CIS building, so they're starting with fifth graders this year because we do an end of the year survey with our students, and most of them, I would say probably 99% of them, were interested in doing it in fifth grade. So they have moved on to fifth grade, and CIS will do their own. They had their first meeting this month, and she said the kids were really excited, and it was really nice just to have them get away from maybe the academic part of it a little bit. They were able to socialize and talk about each other a little bit. So we're excited about that, and hopefully next year when they become sixth graders, then both fifth and sixth grade, and we'll have it third through sixth grade then.
We have a couple of handouts down there, but we gave the board members a handout as well. And on that handout, it has our activity timeline, so the dates that we are Joint Connection Club, and then our activities that we have scheduled for each month as well. And then there's a second page with that, and that's some of the data that we've collected the last 2 years that we've had Connection Club. So there's some more copies down there if anybody else would like one.
Don't all run.
And that's it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies. Sounds like a great program and very informative. Thank you. CEA.
Looks kind of like the Grinch to me.
Well, just for that. Is this on? Hello? All right, then I'll just yell. So, there is an event. Oh, there's a power button. That's nice. There's an event upcoming that CEA is extremely passionate about, and we just would like you to be aware of this as well. On behalf of CEA, we would like to wish the board, the administration, staff, students, community, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Anyone have anything for Oopsie?
I ain't stopping now.
It's okay. All right. First up will be Craig Flack, who wants to speak to the board about Bulldog ethics.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the board and the community gathered here. My name is Craig Flack. I'm a board member with an organization that's a nonprofit in town called Kingdom Harvest Ministries, and we are petitioning the Salina City School Board for a program we're calling Bulldog Ethics. In addition to being a pastor in the community, I'm a resident and a parent of a Salina City primary school student over at the kindergarten. I'm speaking tonight for myself, but also on behalf of many pastors gathered in the room. We all like to talk, but for your grace, we've tried to consolidate into one voice and be brief at that, but you give us a podium, we'll see what happens. And so, back in July of this year, this group, you saw many of us gathered over in the Fieldhouse auditorium. And we asked the board to consider adding the Bulldog Ethics Program, a government-sanctioned legal, Supreme Court rule, legal release time. And at that time, approximately 5 months ago, this board advised the KHM team to work with an administrator at one of the schools to find someone that might be willing to try and roll it out in their school, because you didn't want to dictate to the principals, but rather have the principals say, hey, this might not be something that can work for us, or rather, this might be something that we could see in our school. I'm happy to report that some 5 months later, through many conversations, many hours of hard work, Mr. Metz has graciously agreed to try a pilot program here at the high school. What I mean by pilot program, I mean rolling it out very slowly, trying it, not to necessarily the whole student body, seeing how it works as an elective here in the high school, and giving us an opportunity to take a bite-sized chunk to see how it would work. We truly believe that we've gathered back here tonight doing everything that the board has asked us to do. We've tried to take our time. We've secured facility needs, which you'll hear a little bit from those people who've helped us taking care of that tonight. We've gone about raising private capital, which is essential for a program like this, as no public funds can be used, as it is a religiously based release time. And we have thought about working with the school administrators, answering questions along the way. This past week, we were informed by Dr. Schmeezing that a vote for the Bulldog Ethics Program was kind of being put on hold, as many of the 4 out of the 5 Salina school administrators still didn't see necessarily how this could fit into their schedule, into their buildings yet, as well as 2 pastors in the community, Father Schnipke and Pastor Gramza, had sent a letter in that they had reservations about the program. Again, I want to be clear that we are gathered back here tonight because we believe that as now that we have a principal willing to work with us in this pilot program, that we have done something that will allow the other administrators of Salina Schools to potentially see the program roll out, to see it in action, to start with the oldest and mature of our student body, to put it into practice, and potentially earn those students a credit via state law. We are also here tonight to address some of the reservations of our colleagues. I understand that for a board like you all, you would love to hear that the church in town is unanimous behind such a program. However, I would like it to be publicly stated that while our colleagues disagree with us on this, we did make many efforts to sit down over a cup of coffee or at their office and speak to both people, both of the gentlemen. They were not interested in that. And so in discussing this with the board, I wish I could say we've been able to work out our differences, but I'm sure the board would understand it's very difficult to work out differences with people who are unwilling to sit down and talk with you, to find common ground with people who are unwilling to have a meeting with you in their office.
How many pastors, I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Flack, how many pastors are in support?
Tonight you have, well, if you're a pastor in the community, could you just stand up here and you're in support tonight? So you have this, and this does not represent anyone. This is everyone. This would be additional, as I'm kind of looking, at least 6 churches in the community represented just here. However, we didn't want to overwhelm you. This is who came on an email's notice. Thank you.
Thank you.
But again, this is just not really why I'm here to talk to you. Today I'm here to just kind of bring us to summation. Where we've come in the past 5 months and trying to speak on behalf of the KHM team. I just wanted, as I was thinking about what to address to you all, everyone to just kind of stop and think, especially our educators in the room, how often throughout one day you have to make choices with how you'll respond in life. Whether it's with your colleagues at work, whether it is with your spouse, whether it is with your friends, whether it is just life in general, life comes at you and you hit speed bumps all along the way. Many of us in this room would say that when life comes at us, we stop back and we think upon the foundation, many of us which would claim is a Judeo-Christian ethic, to think of how we will respond in this. Will we choose things like grace, forgiveness, kindness, love, joy, generosity, standing up for and helping the hurting amongst us, among other things? Will that be the foundation in which we respond to life's difficulties? Now, I want you to take yourself for a second and imagine you're back in the pressure cooker of high school. I don't think any of us would choose to go back to high school if we had the opportunity, though some of you have made that your life's mission. Think for a second how most of us would freely admit that when life gets difficult, we fall back upon an ethic that has been built within us that teaches us right from wrong, that teaches us that foundation and a grid to look through. Bulldog Ethics, we believe, is a place where Salina City School students can come and have that foundation poured and built in their life. The same grid that you and I use each and every day to navigate our world, but they can begin to have candid conversations in a school environment about what it means to stand up to peer pressure. How to choose love when everything in them wants to not choose love. And if you can remember high school, remember that pressure for a second. How to love one another. How to be a leader amongst their peers, and what a Christian ethic has to say about this. We're asking the boards to consider why not allowing a student with parental support, complete signed parental support, to invest more in this spiritual area of their life, to learn to grow and to be challenged in who they are and what they believe. You should know that students in Van Wert, Parkway, Coldwater, Marion Local, and St. Henry have spiritual release programs. How do we look at the students of Salina and say, throw a stone, you'll hit a school district with a spiritual release program, but we can't manage that here? Dr. Schmiesing, members of the board, when students walk across the stage and receive a CHS diploma, they will enter into a world that will be difficult. All of us know this. There will be times in life that are full of twists and turns. I want us to consider, does one day go by where you and I don't have to consider what our word will mean in this life? Does one day go by where we don't have to consider what our attitude will be to our neighbors, co-workers, family, and friends? Does one day go by that we don't have to consider how we will treat people? We should ask ourselves, are we doing enough to help students grow in this way? We should ask ourselves, could Bulldog Ethics be a way to help students grow more? I personally believe the answer is yes, and the pastors gathered in this room agree. In closing, I'm going to try and be brief and ask just 2 quick questions of the board to help give us some context to potentially answer, whether in this meeting or in the future, to let us know how to move forward. Because we feel, as like I said, we're gathered here 5 months later doing what the board asked and looking for guidance now. So the first question is, when we met back in July, we were told to find an administrator willing to work with us. We now have Mr. Metz, who's graciously agreed to give it a shot, a pilot program. Let's be clear, high school students vote with their feet. We have youth pastors in this room who will tell you they don't just show up to things because they're told to. This isn't a math class or social studies class, this is an elective. This will fail or succeed because students want it to fail or succeed. We're gathered here to ask you to give it a shot and let the students, with consent of their parents, vote with their feet. What more is needed for you to take action in this regard? And second, we understand that some local clergy do have concerns with the problem, but please know that there are many more clergy sitting in this room who are in support. We represent churches that have, if you combine thousands of Salina residents who call this place home, who have students in this school system. The clergy here is supporting a program that allows a Salina student who has parent permission and meets the requirements to come as an elective and under the Bulldog Ethics program, learn from a biblical worldview, right from wrong. Learn ethics, learn morality, and most importantly, and as I'm sure these teachers would agree, learn that they're valuable. Learn that someone loves them. Learn that they're worthy of being loved. I wish that happened at home. I wish for every young man and woman that ever walked into the school that happened at home. We know it does not. The point of this program is not bickering over the fine points of theology between interdenominations. The Reformation was 500 years ago. I don't know that we're going to solve that in Salina. The point of this program is to offering a drowning kid who feels like no one in the world sees them a lifeline. The point of Salina Ethics is to instill morality and a foundation that will guide them along the way. I wish we could find unanimous support from clergy for this mission, but alas, we're unable to do so. However, we believe that the call in this mission is too great to be deterred. We're gathered here to show support, and what we're wondering specifically is how many we need to gather to show you that there is support. You all live in Salina. Say it out loud. An optional, privately funded program that helps kids learn a Judeo-Christian worldview that's parent-approved, that's an elective, that's not taught by core course teachers, that's on a private site and no public money goes to. Do we truly not think that that's something our town would support? When Parkway, Van Wert, Marion Local, St. Henry, and Coldwater figured out how to do it, some for many, many years. Tonight we're gathered to ask you what more must be done before students in Salina are given a choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Platt. I did neglect to mention prior to you starting that we do typically have a time limit on.
I'm glad you can say that now. You really should.
The Moeller family, Chris, Cammie, Nancy, you guys coming up together, coming up individually?
It'd be easier if we come up together. Good evening. I am Chris Moeller, and we're here to offer our support for the Bulldog Ethics Program. I called it Bible Worthy, so I apologize for that. Nancy and I moved to Salina about 23 years ago, and we really didn't know how this community was going to accept us, but it has been a great experience for our family. We have come to love this community, and we have been very blessed, and we're very thankful for the opportunities that have presented our family since we've moved here. our 3 children had the opportunity to attend the Salina City Schools. And our kids they weren't the smartest, they weren't the best athletes, and yet you as administrators and teachers poured into them and gave them encouragement, maybe a kick in the butt when they needed it, and we're very thankful for that. But along that journey, it became very clear that the world's brokenness did not pass Salina. And we found ourselves many times sitting in our living room with other students, pouring out their hearts to us about what was happening in their families, the temptations, the struggles that they face. We feel strongly that the way to address that is to introduce them or encourage them to have a faith in Jesus Christ. And so over a decade ago, we began to think about how we could have an impact on our community. And for some reason, we had a vision that the building across the street from here, the gymnastics building, would be a building that could be used as a Christian community center. And we prayed, and we prayed. And we hoped somebody that had enough money would come and buy that building. About 10, 13 years later, it turned out that we were in a position at the time that the building became available this year, and we purchased that building. Ironically, at the same time, these pastors out here put down what they disagreed on and came together on what they agreed on and gathered as a group and said, we are going to make a difference in our community. And we have teamed up to hopefully use that building for many uses. And I don't know if the community understands how unique this situation is. I don't know any other community where churches have come together for the common good at this level. I think you probably count on one hand in the United States. So from our standpoint, we would hope that the Board of Education would take a look at that as something unique and positive that could be, that would have an impact on our community. You know, it's funny, you're talking about, Craig, you were just talking, and what you were hoping that the program would do for students. And at our last meeting, we're trying to name the building. And we have thrown out different names and so forth. And then it came to our attention by people smarter than me that the new trend is to maybe name the building after the street number. Building 712. So what did we do? We Googled Bible verses 712. Matthew 7:12, Sermon on the Mount, the Golden Rule. I think that pretty much nailed what we're trying to do, is to provide hope for kids that gives them the ability to take on the world's challenges, to find a safe place where they can discuss real questions, give real answers. And the thing that I guess that my understanding of the program is this is an elective, like we were talking about, so it's not like we're trying to force any one belief on anybody. The other thing is that this is not a Moeller thing. This is not the Moeller building. We don't want our name on the building at all. This is not a Methodist thing. That's where we go to church. This is a community thing. And we're open to, even if the Lutheran Church and the Catholic Church, I believe, are the two that might be having concerns, if they would have programs that they would want to have in that building that meet what we're trying to do, we're open to working with them as well. So this is not, it's not self-served. And we need to fight back. The board needs to fight back. You guys, I look at you, I know some of you, I know where you go to church. I believe that faith is very important to you. You have the power to decide if this goes forward or not. I cannot believe that this won't have a positive impact on our community for the students and the other folks that will eventually take advantage of that building. We're not going to be charging rent. We're offering it as a gift back to the community. We're going to hopefully be able to make the payments, utility payments, the taxes all ourselves so that we will not charge rent. And we'll make it as easy as possible for folks to utilize that building for the betterment of our community.
Hello, my name is Cami Moeller, and I'm a sophomore nursing student at Otterbein University. I am the daughter of Chris and Dancy Moeller. I am here just because I want to share with you the importance of faith in my life. And, excuse me if I cry, I went to high school. I felt the pain. I saw it. I tried to help my peers. I worked really hard. And I dream of this. And so I'm just here to tell you that it's real. Hurt is real. Pain, how to forgive people, it's hard. And I am not a perfect human, but I can tell you that Jesus has helped me live my life. A relationship with him is the greatest thing you can give a child. And so, just please, from a student perspective, this would be the greatest thing for them. For a place, a safe, comfortable, relaxed place to go, talk about their feelings, know that they're loved, because they may not get it at home. The amount of kids that came up to me and asked what I had in my life and how they could get it, I just said Jesus. I said my happiness came from Jesus. That's all it was. So please, just know that it's real, and this building will make a difference.
It's hard to follow that. I first want to thank all of you for all that you do in our community. I'm sure it's not easy at times, especially times like this where we're asking you to step out and do something that has not been done here before. But I just ask that you listen to us, but listen to that voice inside of you. And it is really an honor to be here in this room and among all of you. I am a child of God. I am Chris's wife, and I am the mother of 3 former Salina students. And I am especially humbled and very grateful to be here. And it is, like Chris said, a gift that we are offering you and you and you and you and the world. I can hardly believe that we can do this. It is through hard work and a lot of prayer. I grew up in a Christian home in Napoleon, and I always had religion in my life. But I didn't always have a relationship with Christ. And I can tell you that that is when I lost my direction, and that's also when I lost my purpose. And I don't want to wish that on anyone in this world. The Bulldog Ethics Program is going to provide our students the opportunity to study their faith and then also strengthen that relationship with Christ, using something that God offered us from the very beginning of time, and that is free will. No one is forcing this on anyone. I'm passionate about this project, and as we said, we do offer it as a gift at a time of great chaos, a lot of confusion and conflict in our world. And I do hope that someday that I can stand before our Creator, can hold my head high, and praise Him for giving all of us the courage and the conviction to step up and freely offer his love to those who seek him. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you very much. Last one is Travis Faber.
Hello there, my name is Travis Faber. I'm a Salina resident and a local attorney. I want to follow what the Mollers said and thank them for obviously what they provided, which is just absolutely fantastic. But I'm up here to talk about this opportunity that this community has for a somewhat self-serving reason. I want to live in a community where kids have some direction. I want to live in a community where kids know where to turn when they're hurting. I want to live in a community where kids are taught how to respect those around them. And I think the community program that a group of pastors in this community has put together will do exactly that. It's an opportunity not just for the school itself and for the kids in the school, but for, like I said, the entire community. We know that Christian release programs can be a great resource to build the community stronger. We've seen it, as Craig said, in St. Henry. We've seen it in Coldwater, Van Wert, Minster, Marion Local, and soon Parkway. All of these towns, these small towns, have created these programs where children have been able to develop year after year, and they become a center for the community to build around. I know this because my fiance went to Minster. She went through one of these programs, and her mom teaches. My future mother-in-law teaches at one of these school programs. And if you ask her what it does for the kids she teaches, she'll tell you. It builds stronger children who have a better relationship with God. It builds stronger children who are willing to stand up to the drugs that they're faced in the community. It builds children who are able to respect their parents and their peers and their teachers. And it builds children who want to come back and live in the community after they grow up, after they go to college. They want to raise their families in the same kind of community-involved program that they were able to get when they were children. You know, Salina's going to benefit from this program because we've had a group of pastors that have gotten together and they went out and they've looked at what different schools have done, at what different Christian programs offer, and they've found a program that the Methodists can agree on, that different Lutheran denominations have been able to agree on, that even the Catholic Church uses in some of their religious teachings. And if you can get the Methodists and the Catholics and the Lutherans and non-denominational Christians together to agree on something, that something's good, they're obviously doing something right. And I know not all the churches in town have gotten on board with it, and some haven't even looked at the program that these pastors are offering. But if you investigate it yourself, if you look at it, you'll be able to see what they're doing is not asking the school board to endorse a religion or even religion itself, but allow them to work with parents, to work with students, to release children so that they can bring them up and teach them those ethical standards that towns all over this part of Ohio have been doing for years. It was a couple of years ago that the Ohio legislature, largely led by our own state senator and our own state representative at the time, passed a law, and I know this has been a concern of the school board and various community members, a law that would allow the school to create such a release program, or at least partner with a group of pastors like we have here to do the release program. The Ohio statute specifically lays out standards that the program has to meet, and that's another great thing about what this group of pastors has done. They found a program that meets every one of those standards. It's a program that's already been implemented in Van Wert and is soon to be implemented in Parkway. So it's a program that's tested the law and meets the standards. So the school doesn't have to worry about getting sued or dealing with other issues because it's been tested. You know, at this point, it really is on the school board to come up and to meet the responsibility to push a policy like this forward. It's a policy that costs the school nothing. It legally can cost the school nothing. It's a policy, though, that pays huge dividends. It's a policy that actually has the ability to change people's lives, to help children develop, to help them avoid drugs, to help them avoid the problems that they're dealing with in school, at home, and in their community. It's a policy that I personally would ask you to support, that I know many of the community members, not just the people here, not just the people who are part of these churches, but people who you see every day at the store, who you see every day when you go out for lunch, people that you may attend church with or you may not with. These community members would love to see a program like this right here in Salina. A program like we've had in Minster since the 1990s, a program like we're going to have in Parkway, that we have in Van Wert, a program that in the end will build a better school, a better community, and a better Salina. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If there's nobody else on the list, can we ask a couple questions? Okay, I guess one of the questions I would have is, I think it was Pastor Flack said that if you have parents' permission and that makes the requirements, you're referring to students, what other requirements are there? Would that be up to each school district?
Not district, but each principal has obviously different requirements for their building. So Mr. Metz would work with the program guy, because obviously Mr. Metz is gonna help set what is the requirement of an elective at the high school versus potentially what is the requirement of an elective or a free program period at the middle school. That's obviously why we need the principal. So the meets the requirements is out of due respect to the administrator at that school, understanding that it's gonna have to look different for different buildings.
And how does academic accreditation work? I mean, is it based on the amount of time that's spent there?
It goes with the board, policies developed, and we have paperwork that you can read. It basically has the same way art design or jewelry design or any other elective brings in credit. It's the same way. And so it would just have to be an agreed upon by the administration. Up to 2 credits can be given through it.
I guess the last question would be that I'm just thinking out loud kind of. So what would be the difference between this and an after-school program? If the kids came over at 3 o'clock instead of at 1:15, could they still get academic credit and could it still move forward?
They couldn't get the academic credit, and the biggest difference is sports. The idol and the god of sports. Unless you know of any coaches that are willing to sacrifice that 3 o'clock practice time. My guess is you'll have more people at the board meeting objecting to that. But we do plan on, the Mullers, that's a huge heartbeat, is offering after-school tutoring, after-school time. And so that's going to be a use of the facility. Of course, there's going to be after-school programming, but this is when you think of how busy every kid is. They're in 3 sports and they work at Dairy Queen that night. You're basically asking the impossible to say, hey, do it afterwards. And the same way, by the way, they wouldn't take any electives after school. What electives would they have time for after school?
Bill, I could probably speak to that too. I don't know how the Ohio Board of Education interprets the law, but the law specifically says that it has to be a student who's excused from school in order to make the credit. So there's certain standards that the program has to meet under law. Again, the program that they've looked at, they've gotten meets those standards already. It's already been implemented in other schools, but the statute is not.
And Mr. Metz, not to put you on the spot, but were you initially opposed and changed your mind, or have you been supportive the whole time?
No, we just bounced around a lot of different ideas on how to make something like this feasible. So, yeah, I've never saw it. Right now they meet. We have a group that meets here over lunch, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So there's already time right now that to set aside. But we talked over. I talked over with Mr. Montfort. Several different things that would come into play if this is something we were to look at. So.
I had a few questions also. I guess this one's more directed at Chris. I've talked to a few pastors and Chris about this. Personally, I'm in full favor and support of it. I did want to verify, have you done the work or any work to the building yet, or is that something?
Yeah, so we had to put a new roof on it.
No more,
What's
no
that?
more light coming in through the roof?
The buckets have been removed on the floor, so that's a good thing. We just received an estimate on replacing the heating and cooling, which we'll move forward with after our renters move out. And then we're looking at one other project to give the building a little bit more TLC. But as it works now, we had Fanning and Howie actually look at that building. And yeah, it's not pretty on the inside, but it's functional now.
Okay. So it's been through the inspection process with the fire department. I know the use group was assembly for gymnastics before. It's a little bit different use now, but I think educational use is a little bit less restrictive than that assembly use before. I guess another question is, you hit on it a little bit, Bill, for after school. Are you going to be doing like before school activities also? I'm thinking more a place they could go just instead of just during school.
Yeah, we want to be able to offer almost like a little drive-through. We might have some people where they can get a hot burrito or a coffee just running through real quick. The only issue is school starts at 7:20.
Yeah.
So most kids wake up at 7:05 and make it to school by 7:20.
Yeah.
So there's probably not going to be a whole lot of stuff done beforehand.
Okay.
So,
I believe we talked about this in our last meeting. Is our mic still? Is that still on?
no.
I think they all went. Okay. We talked about insurance coverage and transportation. Of course, for the high school, it's right across the street. It's not a big deal. But
It's going to be fully insured and covered up. There you go. Thanks, Bill. So it's going to be fully covered insurance-wise on your end. There will be no cost at all to the school.
Yep.
If it would eventually expand, I think that was the original goal, was to expand to the younger kids also, correct?
Correct.
And that would be, all transportation would be done by
Correct.
your organization, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And we have insurance to cover all that already.
Okay.
It's already in place.
Okay. I guess my question is, what do we need to do to add this to the agenda? To vote on it? Because if you need a motion, I'll make it.
Well, I guess my issue with voting tonight was the last time we heard from you, this was gonna be a middle school program. And now I find out tonight that Mr. Metz actually has worked with you and that there is something that we can do. Because the middle school was pretty much ruled out because of what their calendar day looks like. So, I mean, I had not really thought any more about it because I didn't realize that you were even pursuing the high school. So for myself, I mean, if you want to vote tonight, we can vote tonight. I would just as soon put a little more thought in it, have a chance to talk to Mr. Metz.
Well, I personally put a lot of thought in it, and I don't see a bad side to it personally, because it's optional for kids. It's during their free time anyways. So they can either go sit in City Hall or go over there and get some tutoring and some help.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you to you people. Very kind and generous gift.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, I would just like to see us vote on it tonight. If it doesn't pass, we'll talk about it some more, but why not?
If I could, though, I mean, it's a policy that the board has.
Sure,
has.
yeah, I mean, we can agree to proceed with it and do the finalizing of the program with what we need to meet requirements, correct? But it's not gonna say, hey, go do it tomorrow. It'll be say, yes, we approve it, we're gonna work on the program and then get it started by.
To be clear, the pilot program wouldn't roll out until the new school year. So nothing's
Sure.
happening this entire school year.
So we're looking at 1920.
Yes.
Mr. Metz.
And that's just a pilot program. That's not even.
Correct, yes.
I guess I want to confirm that we're strictly talking about a pilot project, not if this would go through, we're not just assuming that all of a sudden we're going to start in this school. I mean, we're going to try it as a pilot project. and then go from there. It's not gonna be, I mean, is the plan to put it in all the schools? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, we're talking about, you presented it as a pilot project.
Correct.
And I guess that's what, if we would do any kind of a vote, that would be my understanding, that it's
Correct.
strictly as a pilot project right now.
And the thing too is it doesn't force a principal to do anything. It just gives us the opportunity to at least talk to them. So like, for example, in Parkway, the policy's passed, and so we start January 8th with the middle school and the high school. And it's a pilot program, which is nice for all of us because we can learn from that and grow from just running that as well. But again, it's, you know, if the primary building comes open and the principal says, hey, I would like to maybe try and do a program, we're not going to force it on them, but we want to try to see how we could better serve and benefit the school and the principal.
Right now, the principal can't even have a conversation because it's not a legal program to offer to their students. So pilot or not, they can't even have a conversation about it because the board hasn't adopted a policy. So as you can imagine, most principals aren't super excited to talk about hypotheticals that may never come to pass.
Sure. I like the terms pilot program and also voluntary. You know, if it was offered, it would be up to the student and the parents of the student, whether or not the kid. And we know, being an ex-classroom teacher, they're getting plenty of the negative reinforcement from places that it would be nice to see a different door open.
Yep.
If you want to add it, I'll second.
Yeah, I'd like to add that.
The form of a motion.
Yeah.
I do want to share, there were names of other pastors here that are not in favor of this in the community.
Yeah.
I know there's at least 3.
Sure.
And they have not been heard from.
Well, if they want to speak, they're more than welcome.
I'd like to mention in the Parkway School District, Father Stimke also presides over the Parkway Catholic Church as well, and their program is still able to move forward, even in Parkway, and he presides over Parkway and Salina. And invitations have been sent out to have personal meetings, and those have been denied.
And still stand.
If that was a motion by Mr. Huber, I'll second it.
What was the motion?
Add the pilot program to the
Well,
agenda.
we'll put the approval of the pilot program for the high school only, starting, you said, next school year, correct?
Fall of 19.
Okay. School year 2019. I think that'll at least allow us both time to get paperwork put together so we know exactly what is involved.
You said as a high school, am I
Correct.
Now that we know what it is, I'll second that.
Thanks.
Before I vote one way or the other, though, I'd like to have it read back, how we're going to phrase it.
Or we're going to
Phrase
it.
How it's going, I hear the terminology.
Believe it. Do you have it, Tom?
How about motion to proceed with the development of a pilot program policy for the fall of 2019 at the high school?
For Bulldog Ethics Program. Bulldog Ethics Release Program.
Okay, thank you.
And for your guys' executive session and stuff, the thing I gave Bill is the actual approved Ohio revised code that if you want to add in very legally language that makes sure that parents get notification, no public funds are used, that all insurance is on us and has to be submitted. And so all that can be used in executive session to make sure that it is bulletproof and exactly what is Ohio revised code approved.
Actually, I don't believe that would be an appropriate executive session discussion.
Well,
but
so excuse me, next,
Yeah.
any amendments you need to make.
I think that's on the bottom of that bill says it's 5223 that they approved.
Yeah, it's 5223.
Just for your,
I think I got a copy of that. So do we have the official language down there, Tom?
Motion to proceed with the development of a pilot Bulldog Ethics Release Program Policy for the fall of 2019 at the high school.
Okay.
Make sense?
That'll work, man. Okay, so
The motion is amended to that language. Sure.
And it's understood, I guess, by everybody.
And you're redoing your second.
Yes.
On the amended one.
Mr. Sell, can I ask one question? Is if a principal of another school were to come up and ask us and say, hey, is this a possibility to do any kind of pilot program? Are we saying that's off, or would that be a possibility? Would that be something we just come back
I'd say
to?
one step at a time.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'd say that'd probably be an amendment or.
It requires separate
I
action.
don't know if it would be,
Thank you.
yeah, I don't know that it would be out of line to
No.
think that way. I
Okay.
mean, if we're going to go, if we approve it in one school, I'm sure that we would probably consider it otherwise, but, baby steps.
Yeah, thank you, yes.
I'm just thinking it's gonna be easier for the high school and
Right.
maybe the middle school next,
Yep.
just because of location. So,
But the middle school is still gonna experience the same issues
Correct.
with the school day that
yeah,
They do
they
currently do.
have had.
that's why, yeah, they have to have that time available to do the program.
Correct. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Huber,
Yes.
Mr. Sell,
Yes.
Mrs. Gingrich,
Yes.
Mrs. Voorhees,
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore.
Aye.
It sounds unanimous to me, everybody.
Thank you.
And we would not be offended if you don't want to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hurry up on that thing, will you?
All right, moving along, do I have a motion to approve the consensus agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Gingrich, seconded by Mr. Sell. Mr. Summer, the treasurer's report.
Okay, I'm asking you to approve the minutes of the November 19, 2018 regular meeting. Approve the November financial summary report showing about $2.03 million in revenues and about $7.66 million in expenditures. The expenditures are inflated in the month of November due to about $2.86 million in bond debt payment and over $1.5 million payment to Peterson Construction for the ongoing TriStar construction. I'm asking you to approve the investment control report as of November 31st, or November 30th, 2018, with an ending balance of $22,844,211.35. Asking you to approve the November 2018 SM2 report. Approve the November 2018 checks written for $7.365 million. Approve the continued membership in the OSBA Legal Assistance Fund for 2019. Approve the continued membership with OSBA along with the subscription items offered by OSBA. Approval of the 2019 activity budgets, the student activity budgets. And then also accept the following donations: $1,338.16 from the Mercer County Civic Foundation for the Underground Railroad trip, and for the fourth or fifth month in a row, $500 from the Women of the Moose, the fund to be used to help pay off student lunch debt and help with those students in need.
Good. Mr. President, yes. A couple of questions. Mr. Summer, do you know what some of the funds do? What is the 020 Special Enterprise Fund?
I believe that has to deal with, one of them's TriStar.
It's had a balance of $149, I think, for a long time. 035 Termination Benefits Fund.
That's our severance fund. So much money out of each payroll was set into that for retirement purposes.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on, Dr. Schmieding.
Assistant Superintendent's report for classified folks. We've got one substitute to add, Monica Johnson. Then we got the resignation of Jeanette Tyndall, also Sarah Custer. And we have change of contracts, Rita Bigelow. She's completed her probation. James Mullen has a 60-day probationary contract, as does Kate Spring, Kate Laffin, Mary Putoff, Kirsten Fueling, and Diane Barja. Maybe Bargy if you're from Versailles, excuse me. Hire Virginia Miller. She's completed her 30-day probation, and Brenda Depwig has completed her 60-day probationary period.
Any questions? No. Hearing none, proceed, please.
Under the certified for the superintendent's reports, we've got 5 subs to add. Alexander Bowler, James Lehman, Michaela Bueller, Carrie Wally, and Pamela Dorston. We've got the resignation due to retirement of Jerry Fleck after 39 years of service. For the Head Start Family Engagement Services Manager, we're hiring Whitney Langston, and Whitney is with us this evening, sitting right beside Amy Esser. Welcome aboard, Whitney.
Glad to have you.
Jeffrey Everman is going to be starting as our maintenance supervisor December 26th. On page 3, we've got a change of contract for deduct days, 2 for Jody Wermeyer, 1 for Eric Dwanger, 1 for Mimi Messick. And then we have a change of a supplemental contract, Jason King from half-time to full-time assistant varsity wrestling. Andy Garwood, the same. And then for Curtis Donor, he's moving from assistant varsity wrestling to middle school assistant wrestling. The DLT members for their supplemental contracts are listed under number 11. Pupil activity program, we've got Travis Chilcote, middle school girls softball, John Turner, middle school girls softball, and Derek Waterman, 9th grade baseball. Volunteers, Haley McGilvery softball, John Ellis wrestling, and athletic workers, Cole Robbins and Logan Binkley.
Any questions?
Just a couple here. I just want to verify the 8, 9, and 10 there. That's because of the expansion of the program, wrestling program has been growing rapidly. I'm assuming that's just to cover those.
No, actually, because Curtis went from varsity down to middle school.
Okay.
That changed those 2 half-time people to full-time people to fill that position.
Okay. Correct. It just got shuffled around then.
Correct. The same 3 are still filling those positions.
Okay.
Correct.
Anything else? Okay.
Under resolutions, the first one, approve the revised administrative compensation plan. Number 2, approve the 2019-2020 school calendar. Moving on, the Head Start monthly report, we're asking you to approve that. And then under TriStar, we've got Rob Manker, and certainly all of that is being paid by Wright State University Lake Campus. I'd like you to approve the TriStar Advisory Board referral number 126 to allow TriStar administration to do online bidding for any equipment over $7,500, the TriStar agreement amount. This will allow TriStar to save funds by getting better pricing. All purchases put together, though, will not exceed $30,000. And also with TriStar to accept the donation of a 2008 Chevy Impala from Keith Faber for the TriStar automotive class, valued at $4,200.
Any questions on any of that?
All the donations are appreciated. I saw that the Civic Foundation, the Moose, Mr. Faber, that's good stuff.
Mr. Summer, call the roll.
Do we have any removals? You want to, just asking. Okay.
Based on the questions, I was making the assumption there were no removed.
Mrs. Gingrich.
Yes.
Mr. Sell.
Yes.
Mrs. Voorhees.
Yes.
Mr. Huber.
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore.
Aye.
And under board policies and guidelines, we've got the first readings for those that are numbered. We've got the second reading for 2271, the College Credit Plus program. And then under other business, we need to appoint a president pro tem to serve until a president is elected for 2019.
Are we waiting for that?
We just need a motion from somebody to.
I'd say, Mr. Gilmore, you might as well stay where you are.
Stay where you're at, Matt.
Yeah, I'll second.
I'll accept.
It's easy.
We should probably call the roll.
Yeah, I gave it to Mr. Sell.
Okay.
And then seconded by Mrs. Voorhees.
Yes.
Mr. Sell.
Yes.
Mrs. Voorhees.
Yes.
Mrs. Gingrich.
Yes.
Mr. Huber.
Yes.
And Mr. Gilmore.
Aye. Wouldn't do me any good to vote no anyway.
The January organizational meeting will be held on January 14th, 2019 at 6 p.m. in the high school lecture hall. And also another piece of information, the Franklin B. Walter Scholarship Banquet is scheduled for Wednesday, March 27th, 2019.
Anything further? Hearing none. I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Huber, seconded by Mrs. Voorhees. We will be, well, probably call the roll first, but we would be going in to do our annual evaluations, so.
Do you anticipate any action afterwards?
Do not.
Mr. Huber.
Yes.
Mrs. Voorhees.
Yes.
Mrs. Gingrich.
Yes.
Mr. Sell.
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore.
Aye.
Yes, I'm ready to do.
The early part of the meeting.